Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Fortunately, I don't need to introduce myself because everybody today knows me. I'll start right away.
Yes.
Last Sunday, as I was driving to an appointment with Damaris, in fact, I received a text message from Keita, whom I just introduced you to, asking me if I recently heard from a Kathy Durand, who is a mutual friend of ours in Atlanta. When I received the text message from Keita, I suddenly remembered that I had an appointment with her by phone the day before, in other words, Saturday, and that I had forgotten. And I realized Kathy is so strict in her business manners, I realized I was going to get killed. So I said, thank you so much, Keita. And when I arrived at my appointment, fortunately Damaris was late, so I could call Kathy and explain to her that thanks to the guardian spirit of Keita, I could remember, and I apologized and we laughed about it, and it was a smooth conversation. I believe that Keita's guardian spirit communicated with mine and with Kathy's to remember me of this appointment a little bit late. So usually the guardian spirit shows you ahead of time, as I will explain in my presentation, but as I will also explain in my presentation, when you're either stubborn like I am, or maybe a little selfish, or conceited like I am, so it's difficult to really hear the whisper of the guardian spirit. So in that case, it came a little bit late. So today, let's speak about guardian spirit. What is the guardian spirit? Can anyone give me a definition of the guardian spirit?
A watch over kind of spirit.
Watch over kind of spirit, okay. Watch over.
The spirit that guides you, guards you.
Watch over, right?
Mm-hmm.
Watch over spirit. Okay.
What you say, guide or guiding?
Guiding?
This guides you,
Guide you. Okay.
protects you, bless you,
Protects you.
mm-hmm.
Bless you.
Blesses you.
They're very active today. All right. Watch over spirit, guides you, protects you, blesses you.
I'd like to think it's also that still small voice of God actually directing you.
Small voice of God directing you.
Yes.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say small voice?
Yeah, it's very subtle. It's not a boisterous voice, and you have to be in tune to it.
Voice of God.
Or spirit, whatever you want to call God.
Directing you. This is going to be a very fun teaching, because as I see from, the audience, it seems that everybody is very much in tune with the concept of guardian spirit, so that'll make my job very easy. You will make the presentation.
He's turning it over to us.
Well, this is the definition I came with, which in fact is pretty much what everybody agreed on. I said that the guardian spirit is a representative of our ancestors. He or she watches after us 24/7, 365 days a year, from birth until death, and makes the best decisions for us to be protected and successful in our search for happiness. He or she will wake us up through a dream or a whisper before the alarm clock goes off, even after a short night of sleep. He will ensure we don't miss our plane, or that we miss the plane or the train that will crash. Gives you a reminder of a forgotten appointment, like it happened to me through the guardian spirit that's behind there. Now, let's study. How the guardian spirit guide and protect us? Do you think we can hear their voice? It is said in the teaching that we learn here that the guardian spirit whispers in order to guide us. In fact, we cannot really hear their voice, but sometimes you can clearly hear a whisper. It happened to me to hear, there was nobody. I turned around, but I clearly heard a whisper in my ear. That happened to me before. But sometimes it's an intuition, a daydream, an image that comes, or a set of circumstances. The whispers of our guardian spirit manifest when we suddenly notice something, when we become intuitive, make a realization. Most of our good decisions come from the guardian spirit. Most of our bad decisions come from ignoring the whisper of the guardian spirit. Why and how do we ignore the whisper of guardian spirit? As I explained earlier, the key word is selfishness and conceited ego. So I'm a perfect example of that. And I can tell you right now that while I was preparing this presentation, I realized how much conceited and selfish of a mindset I had. Before this, I never realized that much. I always thought other people were selfish, but I was altruistic. But I made a lot of realizations, some of which I will share with you. So I'm going to share an experience when I ignored the whisper and got, as a result, negative results. Who is the cousin of selfishness?
Well,
I said it earlier.
cousin of selfish.
Ego, excessive pride, or the belief that our success comes from our great intelligence, our own skills, and strictly from our soul merit. They go together usually. Selfishness and conceit, ego, come usually together. I have a perfect example of it, and I'm sorry to say this. Those who smile know that. So 1 year ago, in May 2016, I began a business journey in Mexico City with 3 businessmen that I have been in touch with for almost 3 years now. One of them, apparently the most prominent and experienced of all 3, took the lead in all the meetings, schedules, and activities pertinent to our business in Mexico. The very first time I was introduced to him, honestly, my first impression was not good at all. When I looked at him, I said, oh my God, I didn't realize he was this kind of person. And I had a constant feeling that this was the wrong person to deal with. However, because of the type of family he came from, because of his position in the society, because of the respect most people around were extending to him, I decided to ignore this first impression and to go along with the plan. Since then, we've had hundreds of meetings in Mexico, in other cities of the country of Mexico. We had tons of documents that were drafted. We had lawyers that we hired in order to write contracts and agreements that were never achieved or never, to this day, brought us to a successful venture. Money was spent. I mean, the results were completely the opposite of what I expected when I left here to go to Mexico. Exactly 1 year, in May of last year, Cinco de Mayo, that means the 5th of May. So, as I was preparing this presentation and making many realizations, I started thinking, I said, maybe it was not the right choice, that person. Even though they're so polite, I was polite myself. So I always extended polite or diplomatic ways to handle the situation, but this growing feeling that this was the wrong connection finally manifested in a phone conversation with him, with one other of the 3 gentlemen. We were speaking 3 ways. And it was clearly indicated in this conversation that there's some form of dishonesty and lack of integrity pertinent to our business that caused everything to fall apart. And thanks to this conversation where we clearly went apart from each other, kindly, diplomatically, and politely. And this was the best thing, that finally I decided to listen to this whisper, realizing that not having listened to it for so long caused all those troubles. And honestly, I felt relieved completely. And as a strange result, things coming from Mexico started manifesting in the last 2 or 3 days in a complete different fashion. So stubbornness, unfortunately, makes us waste a lot of time, and as I said earlier, I confess humbly my shortcoming in that particular area. Sometimes I hear clearly this is not right, but I decided already I'm going to do it, so I keep doing until I bump my head and bump and bump and bump and bump and bump. And finally, I made at least a few realizations recently. Same with sleeping. Anyway, we're not going to speak about that right now. So, however, when we follow the whisper, unexpected, wonderful things come to us as a result. Our guardian spirit always protects and leads us to the right decisions. This is why we should not forget to manifest gratitude and appreciation for our guardian spirit. Our guardian spirit, and I'm going to draw something to be more specific as to where he lives and how he operates, and why he has the power to influence us towards the right decisions. So, so this is us here, and our guardian spirit, and one rank above us. Wings. So,
Is that a little angel?
yeah, that's the angel, that's the guardian spirit. He's one rank over us, and we are connected with a spiritual line with him like this. We have the spiritual connection that connects us to him. So, if we move up spiritually to this level here, automatically we will be, our guardian angel will also move to this spiritual level right here above us and be able to protect us more than in that level right here. The reason being, in this level here, if you consider this is a mountain, so he's at this, let's say, quarter of the mountain level, his view in the future would be perhaps 3 days down the road or 4 days down the road, versus when he's over here, he can see much further away. So maybe 2 months or 3 months away, he can already see from the level where he is in the spiritual world. This way he can prevent us from negative things that will happen down the road. You know, let's say that he can see in 3 weeks from now a car accident. So he will prevent us from renting that car, or change our schedule in a manner that we will not be in that car accident. But if he's here, he can only see 3 days down the road. He cannot see that, so he cannot protect us as well as in this particular dimension. So, of course, this one still has a spiritual relationship with us. Thanks to the spiritual relationship, we can whisper organized signs, circumstances that enable us to be protected or guided. So, in this level here, there's other guardian spirits of the same level as this one. And they are connected with people that they protect. So, by communicating with each other, they can arrange circumstances where the protected ones will meet and communicate. And this meeting may produce a good result for both of them. Maybe for a business venture. Sometimes Mr. A and Miss B are meant to be happy with each other, but they've never met. And guardian spirit of Mr. A speaks with guardian spirit of Miss B. Say, oh, you know what? She'll be really good for him because she has those kind of skills. He loves to eat vegan food, and she cooks the best vegan food. So, you know, he has a short temper, but she's very calm and patient. So, what do you think we should arrange? Yeah, okay, let's arrange this. So I'll make arrangement for him to come this way, and they're going to meet in such circumstance. So finally they meet, and they start talking, go visit the museum, go places and whatever. And finally they discover each other, the joy of their lives, and they become Mr. and Mrs. A.B. and have a wonderful. That's just one example amongst others to show you how it works. So in some circumstances, this individual will have a sudden spiritual elevation so fast, going through all those levels in a matter of minutes, hours, or days. I'll give you a clear example later during that. And this, therefore, the guardian spirit cannot raise at the same speed. In that particular case, this guardian spirit will be exchanged with another one. And this will be a sudden change, mutation of destiny. Overnight, the destiny of this person will change completely. The type of people he will meet, the circumstances of his life will change drastically because of this sudden raise like this.
How do you
get
get
that
the
raise? Same question, same thought at the same time.
Good. So, you know, we decided that we would not talk so much about that, thinking there will be a majority of non-kami committee, but finally there's a majority of kami committee. So I'm going to answer your question, and I will explain to you some of the language we use here, so you can understand what we're talking about.
Our guardian spirits are talking.
What we do here is we practice the art of divine light. It's like this. So one person sits in the front chair and one person in the back chair. And because this performer has gone through the basic seminar, he has been initiated to the art of purifying the spiritual body of the receiver with this divine light that we use as this technique of the art of purification in the center. So, in order to become a performer, this person will have to first receive divine light a few times, and then he says, oh, I'd like to give divine light, how do I do that? So he registers and takes the 3-day seminar. During 3 days he comes in this room, takes notes, and then second day takes notes, third day learn esoteric teachings about the invisible world, how it all works, connects with each other, and influences the physical world 24/7. And third day, graduation, he receives this holy pendant that connects him directly to the highest dimensional world and allows him, shortly after the graduation, to raise his hand and give divine light. During the 3 days, his soul soaks in a hot tub of divine light. And when he receives the pendant, suddenly his level goes from here to there. This is one of the manuals in which this happens. So after graduation, the guardian spirit is changed, in fact, and you have the ability to start a totally different journey in your life. Then 6 months, 1 year, 2 or 3 years down the road, you take the intermediate seminar, and same, you will sit down for 3 days and receive teachings of a higher level, and get an exchange of divine pendant, and receive the intermediate pendant. That time, you move like this, and your guardian spirit is exchanged with another one as well.
Wow.
Finally, 1 year later, you decide to go to Japan and take the advanced seminar. Same, when you do the exchange of Amitama, that day, you know, you are also blessed with a change of guardian spirit. Yeah. This is one method that we know for sure here, and we have tons and tons of experiences in that area. So I apologize, Carol. I know that this may cause many more questions, but if you are just a little patient, you got it? Okay. So this is in a nutshell how the whole system works. So would anybody like to share an experience that you've had, you know, with your guardian spirit?
I just had one Thursday.
Uh-huh.
I could not get out my house to go to work for anything. I had my keys, I had my purse, I went to my car, I gotta go back upstairs, I've left something. I did this so many times, I'm like, what is wrong with me today? I can't get on the road. When I finally got on the road, I'm late for work, but man, it was a bad accident. 5 cars involved, 2 cars on their tops that has turned over.
Wow.
And when I got to work, I told my neighbor that sits by me, I said, you know what? Something kept me from getting on that road this morning. Maybe I was going to be in that accident. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I kept asking myself, why can't I go? I'm already in my car. I looked, I got to go back. Oh, I don't have this. I'm like, what is wrong with me today? I got up far earlier. I'm supposed to be on time that day. I was late. But I'm
And you recognize
This was
that there's
Thursday, when you said that.
Yeah, because the guy, our teacher, was late teaching us.
Yeah, because if the traffic was backed up all the way on 45. I tried to get off. It's like when you try this exit, I couldn't get off. Everything was blocked.
Wow.
I'm just sitting there about 30 minutes.
Yeah, our teacher was like that day.
Yep.
Wow.
5 cars. 2 of them upside down, flipped over. And the other 3 crashed bad.
Yes.
Can I give you an example of when I didn't listen because I didn't know the teaching? This happened well over a quarter century ago. And as Marilyn, we were supposed to be going to Atlanta. And everything that could prevent us from leaving came up. And of course, I didn't know about this. So anyway, we got on the road, and I guess Spirit at that point said, okay, they won't listen. So we finally got to the rent-a-car place, and this man didn't know us, and he said, I'm going to upgrade you. And in those days, it was a Cadillac DeVille. Had 27 miles on it.
brand new.
Brand new. And you know those are the big cars.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And because I wasn't listening, as I said, I didn't know about that. And I guess God said, they won't listen, this is the only way I can protect them. And we went off, and there's this place called Alligator Alley in Florida where the alligators literally walk across the street.
Wow. Yeah.
But anyway, we got on. My husband, he was on the road all the time, and I drove first, and he knew this is a dangerous area. You don't stop in Alligator Alley. He felt led to stop, fell asleep, and I was about to go in the back of the car, and he said, no, come back to the front, where my head would have been. This tractor trailer hit us. The whole car came in onto the seat, dragged us almost a mile.
Oh, wow.
And of course, you know, that car was torn up, and of course the police said had we not been in that car, we would not have survived it.
Right.
So of course that's before I knew about the guardian angel and about being protected, and that was us being stubborn and ego and everything
Right.
else, as you said.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but and thinking that we knew. But that is a case of not listening. Now, wherever I go, I pay attention. If there's something, I will not move. Because I do listen to that guardian angel, but that's an example of not listening. Ignorance can be blissful, they say, but that's an example of not listening and paying the price for that.
But saved your life at the same time.
But it created, it did save my life, but it created other issues that could have been avoided had
No,
we paid
that-
attention. We didn't have to. And then after the accident, we rented another car and still kept going to Atlanta.
Instead of going back.
That's what I'm saying.
I see.
Because we had an agenda. It was our agenda. My husband had an agenda. It was his agenda. And we had to fulfill his agenda.
And it was more important than anything in the world you thought.
So that's an example of not listening to that
Exactly.
voice, that
Yeah.
guardian, trying to, you know, they were communicating, but we had our own agenda.
Ah.
I was told to tell you that story. I didn't remember it.
Oh,
Yeah.
so your guardian spirit is working even in this space.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing. That's
Yeah.
a very, very good example, definitely.
Yeah.
As we can either listen or not listen, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think people daily are faced with hearing the whisper of the guardian spirit, and we do get stubborn, and we have our agendas, and we want to get so much accomplished in the day. Issa was sharing an example with me before about wanting to get to the vitamin shop, and I related to that because sometimes on the weekends we want to accomplish as much as we can, and we're rushing, and our guardian spirit is talking to us all the time and being like, stop rushing, and maybe don't go to that extra errand. And
Yeah.
it is so important to listen to that message and kind of pull back from our agenda. But I think the key is staying in tune with hearing the voice, because we get so stubborn and, you know, headstrong about accomplishing what we want that we tune out the voice often. But I guess this is why we're all here, is to tune back in.
So if I understand well what you're saying, Susan, and Carol also, listening to your experience, what I'm learning from what you just said is that I think we all agree here that there is guardian spirit, or the way you've put it earlier, God guiding us through the guardian spirit to protect us. And we have this inner voice that tells us, don't do this, or please do this. And because of the way we're trained in this society, or the characters you've developed, we have a tendency, some of us do, to ignore this voice and I'm going to do it my way anyway. And so the art of learning how to perceive this voice, how to distinguish it, how to recognize it through our observation or through our development of our intuition, or just listening carefully, our inner voice, and then following it, despite however we might want to do it our way, is the key to success and happiness. I think it's not easy because I personally have, taken this seminar that opened my eyes to spirituality over 40 years ago, and I'm still learning about the guardian spirit. I've heard many times the teaching on the guardian spirit and have not even perceived what we're talking about right now. So my level of perception today is totally different, which leads me to suspect that there's still a much deeper depth I should go into in order to completely grasp, the concept and also the following this instead of this one. What did you want to say?
Well, one of the things I feel, because, and I live a very guided life. I even allow spirits to dress me. I don't put clothes on unless I check. And most people, it comes from living a surrendered life. I'm not looking at surrender the way you know surrender to be, right? So it's just, as I said, there are times like, I do everything, as I said, guided. I don't and I don't talk about it because then people really think you're crazy. So and they always dress me right. Because I'll be like, I don't think so. And then when I go wherever I am, I'm dressed appropriately. I'm warm enough, cold enough, whatever it is.
Right.
So I think that we tend to limit our guardian angels based on our limitations.
Right.
Wow.
So we might think that even eating, I check about that too. So we tend to just limit them, they can only handle big stuff. And even God or whatever you call it, we put them in this like a box and only when we have this big issue will we take them out of the box instead of having them with you all the time, no matter how big, how small, whatever. And therefore, look at how we met. I had just told the universe I needed someone to braid my hair. And I met him and thought he was somebody else. And in 2 seconds, I had the name of a hairdresser to go get my hair braided. Because I had actually gotten in my car, and then I realized that I forgot something, and I had to come back. I didn't have my slippers. So I had to come back into the hotel, which to me would have, and there he was, So if we just not limit the spirit, the guardian angel, only when I have this big issue will I take you out and ask the question. Ask for everything.
Yeah.
That is so amazing.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that they do as you do.
But you think they're weird deep down.
Well, not really. It's like, it's working for them.
And it can work for you if you are open to that. And that's why I don't impose my belief system on anybody else.
And I think it's a good thing that you're bringing it up because it adds an awareness to me that usually my contact with the guardian spirit is when I'm on the road late going somewhere. Okay, now which way do you think I ought to go before
That's all part of it.
Yeah, and me and the guardian spirit get really well connected to get me where I need to be on time. Yeah. Because sometimes the first spirit that told me to get up, I didn't listen to.
We don't want to listen to that.
Then the backup spirit has to help me figure out the right route. Okay? So I thank you for that because when people I know that have been very spiritually connected and they say, I talk to, I ask God or whatever they consider to be their messenger from God what they should wear and where they should go and each and everything because it's not just it's those small things that add up to be the big things from what you're saying.
Yeah. So
over my life, I can see where when I ignored the guardian spirit suggestion and it was a disastrous situation, then I also can see where sometimes the guardian spirit may even keep me from doing something that I thought I needed to do. It may even hurt me, but it kept me from something even more critical from happening. Right. So I don't always look at everything that's bad is happening to me now in my life. And when something bad happens, I said that must be the stop.
Right, because it could have always been worse.
Yeah.
Right?
And then something else could have happened that would have been in my perilous. So thank you very much for sharing that you asked the guardian spirit for more than just which way I go when I'm late. Emergency.
I kind of want to share that I'm happy to hear this again because a reverend did share that with me many years ago. What shirt am I going to wear today? Am I going to go left here? Am I going to go right here? There's, I used to study the Course in Miracles, and there's something in the Course in Miracles that says, what do you want me to know? Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to say and to whom? Like, guide every step of my process of my life. So.
And it makes life easy.
Well, I can't say that I've been practicing it. But this is why I'm sitting here, because I need the reminders that, and we all need the reminders that every second of our lives can be guided if we ask for it and we allow it.
Yeah, that's very, very, very important.
The practice.
Yeah. So this practice, as you said, to recognize the whisper and to follow it is very key. The second key now, how do we go from here to here Because obviously when we're here, the guardian spirit can see much further, even though he might not see as far as this one, but he will see much further, and as a result, he will communicate with the guardian spirit of equal spiritual level, which will enable us to communicate with people of equal level versus people of that level here. For example, in the job area, you just told me recently you had a change of position at your job. So assuming your guardian spirit, I understand you work in the same location? So assuming that she is your, the district manager, and you just began, right? And so she's over here, and this is your guardian spirit, but hers is over there. So if you find the key to moving up here, you see, then your guardian spirit can communicate with hers and say, you know what, she needs a raise, so
Yeah.
you come and meet with her there. You see? So how do we do this?
Yeah, right.
So of course you ask me the question, how do we do this earlier?
Yeah.
And I give you a quick answer. But we can go into this detail a little bit further in my presentation. However, in a general way, I will say that there's a passive and an active way to do this. The passive way is to purify oneself passively through a accident, loss of money, diarrhea, strong headache, etc. This is the passive purification, which enables you. And then there's the active one, the type of work you do here, when you practice this art of purification, which eliminates on the spiritual level impurities, enable you to lift your spiritual level, and have a guardian spirit of a higher level that enables you to communicate with people of a stronger level of activity, whether it is in the business, personal, or even family. Okay? So this is a technique. So when your spirit is purified, your spiritual level naturally goes up, and the guardian spirit who followed you before is exchanged with another guardian spirit, whose level is higher than the previous guardian spirit's level. The higher the level of the guardian spirit, the more she or he can see spiritual phenomena more clearly. For instance, please imagine this one. Since we're going that far in the conversation, let's imagine this one here. You see, the guardian spirit that is on the top of the mountain will have that type of panoramic view in the future and in the distance. Versus this one here, nice view also, but you see the difference?
It's a path.
You're down in the valley.
Right, you're down in the valley versus here you have the whole horizon, you see.
Miles and miles ahead of you.
So this one can see way up there what's going to happen. He can tell you, be careful, over there XYZ is going to happen, versus this one can only tell you what's going on at the corner here. Right.
Yep.
The guardian spirit B sees the whole picture,
Exactly,
and guardian A only sees around the corner.
exactly. Because the spiritual level, just like
Totally,
is the
yeah.
bottom of the mountain,
Right, yeah.
top of the mountain.
Right.
I
So this
remember this
illustration
one book, or this one principle I heard was called the peak to peak principle. So it kind of coincides with the example you have of the different spiritual levels. If you're on 0 level and you can see just a little bit higher, when you get there you can see a little bit higher, and then you can keep repeating that process. And that's the reason why just coming and training at the basic seminar level gives you a chance to have a higher level of understanding about our relationship and our connection to God. So if we keep striving to know and want to have a better understanding about God and our relationship to Him, and I'm saying Him because that's whatever you feel it works for you, but we still could be able to see higher if we learn more and we share more and we teach more. I think we have the obligation to help somebody else.
What is the title of this book?
I think it was called, I don't know, it was a book, it was called The Peak to Peak Theory. And someone had
Peak to Peak theory. So
P-E-A-K. EK, like you could look,
Peak to peak.
then you can see a higher peak,
P-E-A-K.
P-E-A-K of the mountain.
Peak to peak.
Peak to peak. So the repetitiveness of the process is what enables us to consistently raise, right?
Right.
It's the same thing here.
Right, exactly.
It looks very monotonous and even boring when you look from the outside. Someone who is just, like we showed earlier, you know, every day you come, you do the same thing. You raise for 50 minutes, then you receive, then you pray out, then you go. Then you come back and do the same thing over and over and over. I've been doing this for 42 years. You remember what my son said when he came from Africa? He said, "You're not going to get me to do this seminar because when I was a kid, while my friends were playing, I was in the dojo every day receiving this divine light." You know? But this is the thing here. The friends I had at that time, they called me, my nickname at the time was Geronimo. So they called me, when I came back from the seminar, they called Jiro's light. I hear everywhere, Jiro's light, Jiro's light, Jiro's light. We don't see him anywhere. He's always locked in this room, you know, doing a strange thing to people. But then 10 years later, 20 years, you know, we reconnect, either in another country or another location. They say, "Man, how come our lifestyle is so different now? What have you done?" That is the difference. In other words, even though we might sound very repetitive when we say over and over, please practice the divine light regularly. We even tend to say, if you can practice every day like I do, you're going to be much better off.
Right.
And the difference shows on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. So it might feel, or if you analyze it intellectually, you must, that's really boring. There's so many other things you do out there. I could go there, I could do this, and the other. We're not saying you can't do the usual things. You can absolutely do them. But if you fit in your schedule, if you put in your mind the idea for your spiritual elevation, for your spiritual nutrients, to practice this divine art daily, or on a regular basis, on a repetitive basis, just like the peak to peak, you will see day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, month, this constant elevation and shift of guardian spirit and opening up of amazing experiences. Now, there's two things. There's the practice of the divine light and the implementation of the teaching. So you may wonder, how come someone who's practiced 40 years like this, he still walks a little bit like this sometimes he come at the dojo with the eyes like this, and then she just okay. So that's because of the stubbornness that I explained earlier, which makes it sometimes make a little time before you finally make the realization. But when you make the realization, she even tells me, "Oh, Issa, your eyes change right now." You see, there's both aspects. The two wheels, you know, of the car that brings you little by little up the mountain. So, when your fortune continues to expand, some people, in the process of going upwards, like the picture of the mountain earlier, might think that we are very fortunate, we're just lucky, and we have a tendency to make good decisions, which is why we're so successful. At that point of time, we might become a little self-conceited and show no gratitude to God or to our ancestors or our guardian spirit. Therefore, our spiritual level will start going down, and it will become lower, and our life will suddenly shift in one of a lesser quality in general terms. Even if the descendant of the ancestor is a very hard and serious worker, if his or her guardian spiritual level is low, and he or she does not make an effort to rise up his spiritual level, his life will fail. So that's a very important key here. In order to avoid this phenomenon, we should not forget to offer our gratitude to God and to our ancestors, inclusive of our guardian spirit. And here, we refer to divine service, the practice we do, which is based on the three pillars that we learn here: the giving of truthfulness, the receiving of truthfulness, the dedication of truthfulness. So these, you know, we learn in details during the basic seminar. And it enables, you know, a very constant and very steady rise of our spiritual level and the spiritual level of our ancestors. So I would like to share a personal experience. Let's see, the date was July 17th, 1996. I was in Louisiana with my family of 4 at the time. Issa Jr., for those of you that know him, was 3 years old, and Imani was 1 year old. And we were living in Senegal, and we were visiting a friend and business partner in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We were supposed to take the plane early in the morning to go to New York, where we were booked on TWA 800 going to Paris. And Issa did not want to go. He said, I'm not leaving here without Auntie Linda. She gotta come with us, she gotta come. And he was making a whole mess. We could not even recognize that kid. And so at some point, in order to calm him down, we had to speak to Linda. Linda, what's the deal here? You were supposed to come next week. You think we can make arrangements, you all go together? And so, you know, we made the arrangements to book her, you know, on the same flight. She packed really quickly, she made arrangements with her mom, and we go to the airport, we missed the plane. So we had to take the next plane. By the time we arrived in New York, this was the condition of our plane. Yeah.
800, that's right.
We were booked in that plane, and we have 5 friends in there that didn't make it.
2000, the year 2000?
1996.
96.
1996, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
started
yeah,
at
yeah, yeah.
New
So, you know,
York.
in some cases, the guardian spirit puts his foot down, so he organizes circumstances that you just cannot take that flight. And I remember when we were young, my father was a traveling diplomat, so we went many places with him, and he had these friends in Paris. The husband was a magician, and the wife was a housewife, and they had 3 or 4 children. So they went, you know, from places and different places to perform his magic tricks, and in the circuses and in other places. And you know, one day they all went for one of those trips, and the plane went down, and the entire family died. So from that point, my father said, you know, we're never going to do this again, travel all in the same plane. We're gonna, when we have to go to New York, or we have to go to Europe, or we have to go back to Africa, we're gonna go 2 by 2. You know, the mother goes with one child, the father goes with another child. 2 of the older children, you know, fly together. This way, if there's, God forbid, a situation like this, we're not gonna all vanish altogether. So we've pretty much practiced this ever since. This was in 1996, but I think, maybe President Kennedy had either died or the year before, so I was 6 or 7 years old. And we were living in New York, and you know, every holiday we go to Africa, and then we go to Europe, and then from Paris, you know, we fly Pan Am. From the old airport, I forget the name, Charles de Gaulle did not exist at the time, there was just Orly, and then the other airport where Pan Am was leaving from to go to New York. And that very day, my mother was taking all her time, and we were already late. We said, can you hurry up, please, please? My father was getting nervous, and she was taking so much time. And how much time finally we arrived and we missed the plane. This was the TWA, the Pan Am that ended in the Atlantic in the 60s, right? And nobody survived that flight either. So, you know, this was my first, you know, such experience. I had another one before this one, and but I'll skip. Maybe next time I'll share with you. And this is really, for me, an occasion to deepen my gratitude to the guardian spirit, as well as my understanding, as I share with you those teachings, how serious it is of a phenomena that we be protected, guided, and directed by the guardian spirit. And I really will do my best to deepen even more my gratitude for this wonderful phenomenon. So, continuing with the teaching, I would like to say that if the descendants follow several steps, his or her guardian spirit will be exchanged with another guardian spirit who is at a lower level just like the opposite phenomena. And she or he will fail because the lower guardian spirit cannot see, help, and support his or her descendant, because his or her lower spiritual level, right, does not enable them to see as far. So, but on the other hand, so of course I shared with you, Carol, what we do here with this practice. Mainly we do this type of practice here every day, and we consider that this is like a shortcut because of the fact our spiritual level, which influences our life and our emotions, raises so fast when we practice this art. And we call it divine service in general terms. So we say here that if one can take the basic seminar and purify with the divine light one's soul and receives the purification. Moreover, if you receive the holy pendant, your spiritual level will jump up, and your guardian spirit that had a more limited power will be exchanged with a guardian spirit with a higher spiritual level than before. And after that, you can get good results, even in business, such as 30%, sometimes 50% increase in the result of your business, even doing the same job or the same activity. This is one of the reasons often when people take the seminar, shortly after they become very busy, they say, we don't have time anymore to come like before the seminar. This is also a trick arranged in the invisible world to test, you know, your spiritual and mental strength, because if you manage at that time to steal even 50 minutes, you just come here. That's all you have. You just make 50. You're going to see the result is what you do. You will be able to achieve it in much shorter amount of time, and the results will be much bigger on a constant basis. Mm-hmm. So now, okay, I'm going to skip this part. And I remember, but anyway, I'm going to skip this one as well.
We don't know it.
He knows.
I know.
Oh, that's for him. I was like, okay, don't tell us. We don't. Now you're making us.
You don't have to tell me.
Yeah, tell us, please, please.
Well, you know, as I said at the beginning of my presentation, and that'll be a way for Brother Nee to catch up with everything we said before then. As I prepared this presentation, I received many experiences throughout this last 10 days, especially the last week, you know, enabling me to, you know, despite the busyness and the activity, to realize and appreciate a little bit more the phenomena of the guardian spirit. Last Sunday, I think it was, after I finished my meeting with Damaris, so I already had the guardian spirit of Keita that reminded me of the meeting I missed with Kathy the day before. Then when we finished, I wanted to buy some stuff, but Trader Joe's was already closed. It was about, I think, 9:25. So I said, let me go to the a Whole Food store on San Felipe, the very big one, San Felipe and Post Oak. So I go over there and I go to the fruits and I meet this Jewish woman. And as I was buying some organic, what was it again? Yeah, those big organic tomatoes, she started asking me questions. What's the virtue of those tomatoes? And, oh, are you vegan? And what this and what that? And I tried to be polite, but, you know, I looked, it's soon gonna close. I have many other things to buy. And she kept me, I couldn't leave because I could only leave rudely. She was so nice asking me questions and, you know. And then finally 10 o'clock hit, that's when I see the cashiers closing one after the other. So I said, you know, with all due respect, you know, if we don't hurry up, we're not going to be able to buy those tomatoes. I said to myself, well, everything else I had to buy, I couldn't.
Can't buy it.
You see? I had an experience in this particular, in fact, I was with you one day in this Whole Food store, if you remember well, and it had closed.
Right,
And we were trying to get back in to go to the garage.
right. Right.
I remember how
I remember
the
that
security
one.
treated us.
Rudely.
Hmm. That I remembered from that particular Whole Food store. So fortunately, they reopened a cashiers, and I could buy my tomato. The lady, she bought her tomato. So when I came in the store, I had the intention to buy 7 or 8 different items. So I put my cell phone on the top of the, what do you call this? You know,
Shopping cart?
This kind of.
yeah, the, what do you call
The
it?
cart,
The cart, yeah.
shopping cart.
But in the meantime, she spoke so long to me, which is unusual for me to speak, I forgot totally about my cell phone. So I go through this, apologizing to those people that had to reopen and so forth, and she's starting over there to blah, 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 blah. So the guy was there just looking at the time, you know, 15 minutes past already the time to close. Finally, but she was so nice, we had to stay polite. Finally, when I came through, when it's time to go out the door, I see the security guy, so I say, I remember the bad experience. So I look at him, and I say, uh-oh, hey, may I please come out this way, or I have to go? So, amazingly, he's very nice to me. So, no, I'll open for you. And I say, should I leave the cart here, or can I bring it to my car? He said, no, it's your choice. So I said, since he's so nice and me be nice to him, I'm gonna leave it here, and I took my pack, and I left like that. By the time I got to my car, he flashes me. Flash, 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 flash. So I look at, and he comes out with my phone. He said, you left the phone in the cart.
Oh, that was nice.
Nice.
Yes, it was nice.
If I had not listened to the whisper of the guardian spirit telling me leave it in there, I would have gone out there. There's nobody left, everybody's gone.
Then it
Take
would
my
have been
stuff,
left.
gone, I lost my cell phone.
Yeah.
Completely.
Right.
You see? So just like Carol said, even the subtle ones,
Yeah.
it's not only the big ones, you know, where you make $1 million, because you listen, you say, go talk to this man. Even the subtle ones.
I'm waiting for that
Even the
Our
subtle
guardian
ones.
angel.
Yeah, and enable us to tune in and really live a life of full happiness. So if we can remember this, I think it's Susan and Carol that basically brought the realization in this class that to perceive the whisper of the guardian spirit is number one, and number two, to follow it is very important. But then I think Johanna came with the book Peak to Peak, which talks about the system to go upwards on a regular basis. What I suggest here is this regular practice, coming here in the center and practice tekadashi on a regular basis. Sometimes it takes to a little bit of self-dis, I don't really want to go. When I began 42 years ago this art, I remember the teacher, he asked a question during a study class like this. When you are tired, your emotions are low, you're completely depressed, you don't even want to get out of bed, what do? So somebody gave the answer. He said, even if you have to drag yourself to the center, you come in the center. Yeah. You will see sometimes you come, you know, you really didn't want to come here. You come like this, when you leave, you're full of energy. You see? So, this is the message I would like to share with the fellow Kami Committee. Please, let's discuss and begin a conversation to find out what would be the best way we can implement in the center a activity or a system enabling Kami Committee to enjoy coming here on a regular basis. Hopefully, we'll have a few champions that will come here every single day. For Carol, since she's the only guest today, non-Kami Committee, my message is, please take the first step by receiving this divine light. I know you've already experienced many, techniques enabling you to have an open mind from the first conversation we had or the second, and I appreciate this. I would like to offer my wholehearted invitation to taste, the wonders of this divine light, and just you experience your own experience. Then, if you like it, while you are here in Houston, before they send you to another city, try to come here. Because who knows, if you have the blessing to receive this graduation, I can promise you you're going to experience this one. Yeah, you can experience this one. Then, wherever they send you, you can share this blessing with people all over the place. Trust me, it's a really wonderful feeling. I still receive phone calls from people, texts, WhatsApp, emails from people across the nation. reminding me of such blessing they've had because of experiences like this, So this is, I think, in a nutshell, what I would like to give as a conclusion is, of course, this phenomena is inherent to every human being. It's not only here, but as I call the shortcut, when we have the ability to practice Tekadashi, to make the effort to come here, even 15 minutes, we can, if it is done on a peak-to-peak, like you say, that means on a regular basis, an amazing way to transform your life in one of joy and joy. And since you've been so nice, I will share with you what I skipped. This is what it was. I said that my son Indra, who reached a state record of triple jump, went to Waco to compete with the top high school track meet Friday 5-5, that means 2 days ago. Despite all the encouragements he received from the family, I couldn't go because I had to represent him yesterday to an award that he received here. So I couldn't go, and I had to prepare also this presentation. He came back late, past midnight yesterday. I could not, so I apologized to him. I gave him my blessing. I spoke to him before he jumped. His mother went with him, his sister and the boyfriend of the sister, and he was the only one of his school to go there, but he was really encouraged. Even his brother in Africa WhatsApped him before, so he had everything necessary to perform. And from what he told me himself, he really gave his best effort to jump. But the first time he did the triple jump here, you know how it is, right? You run, and then, let me use the blue one. After you run, right here, you jump 1, 2, 3. And so the first time he ever did it, this was, I think, a few weeks ago, he beat the record of the state of Texas of 2 feet. So his coach said, wow, that's amazing. I need to train you, because his technique was not good. He didn't do it with the right technique. So they started training him. So during the training, he increased here about 1/2 foot. So 2.5 feet, he could beat the record of the state of Texas. So he was the only one of his school, selected to go to this nationwide track meet the day before yesterday. And he was psychologically, physically well fed and well prepared. However, the last 3 weeks that he trained, the worst jump he did was maybe somewhere here. So Friday, after he jumped, and he had 3 tries, he did not even make it here. He made it approximately here. So he was very upset. It was not bad. He reached level 3 statewide. But for him, he could not understand with the effort he gave, the physical effort, that he could not even make it to the lower record he's ever performed. So he was very, very, upset. He didn't want to speak to anybody until yesterday, in fact. And I said, don't worry, you did good. He still has the third, and next time you'll do better. So this is the situation here. He gave the maximum of his physical effort. But since I'm his father, I can say to you, in all honesty, for the last few years, he has not, done this one. Which he has been initiated since the age of 5. He was there at the 50th anniversary. He's somewhere there. He's somewhere over there. He was 9 years old. And so he was going to go as an oncoming. He said, no, I have to take the seminar. We were in Paris. He said, you can't. I have to. He said, I want to take the seminar. You know what it is? Yeah, I want to practice like everybody. So Nicola arranged a seminar for him. We got authorization from, and he took age 9. He was so happy when he left. He said, I don't want to leave this place. I want to stay here till I grow up, blah, blah, blah. He practiced. He was short like this. He was the shortest of the family. Never had any skills in sports. Finally, a friend of mine's son is a professional basketball player. He admired him so much. He said, oh, can you teach me? No, you can't play basketball. So it hurt him. And he practiced divine light every day. Before going to school, we all exchanged. And he started during the summers practicing for 6 hours. Suddenly, now he plays like an amazing guy. And we discovered 3 weeks ago his ability to do that. But I say, but of course, when he started growing, oh, I'm so big, I don't need Omitama anymore. Omitama is right here in the holy room, right? So, what I can observe as a father, looking at my son's efforts, he grew so well, and at some point he said, I'm so great, I don't need the Guardian Spirit, I don't need anymore. So now he's like, level went down. So it's really so clear, you know, now how to speak to a 17-year-old to make him understand, that's totally different question.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, it works just like that in the invisible world. So the invisible world, the world of the ancestors, the world of the guardian spirits, the worlds of the floating spirits exist really and influence us 24/7. So the best way to get the high influence by the guardian spirit is to listen to the whisper, like Susan said, and to follow the whisper, like both Susan and Carol. Like peak to peak, like you explained, Johanna, to basically have consistent efforts in order to raise the spiritual level. And finally, once we raise the spiritual level, to never forget the humble prayer of gratitude to the Creator and gratitude to ancestors, gratitude to guardian spirits, in order to not need to be exchanged with a guardian spirit of a lower level. So this is really my conclusion and my message of the day. I think I caught up, you know, with my brother. In fact, if you don't mind sharing your experience, how we met and what happened after we met that very first day. That would be a good illustration on how the guardian spirits work.
Well, I met Issa through a friend of ours. Some of you might have seen him around here. We were talking about taking some business to Africa. And he said he had met somebody from Senegal and I need to see him. So I came to see, you know, we started talking. I realized that, you know, Issa's mind was not even on the business. So I was wondering whether the guy has wasted my time, you know, coming to meet Issa. And all of a sudden, he started talking about divine light, you know. By nature, I believe in some of these things already. So I said, why not take a try? So I started coming. Then it was in his house, not in the center here. I started going to the house for the practice. They mentioned that there's going to be a basic training. So I said, why not? So I went on board and I took the first basic training. To cut a long story short, we have to go to, how do we call it, California for the second, I call it the second degree. So
let's take your undergrad here and advanced degree somewhere.
Incidentally, the moment I sat down, hear him talking about a whisper, I've been hearing that a lot. Most of the time I get direction on what to do, you know, on a daily basis, as if somebody is talking to me. Long before I took the seminar, I was taking graduate classes at U.S.A-CAN, and I was working. I get up by 7 a.m. No, I'm sorry, I get up by 7 a.m. and I go to class by 8:30. I'll be in the traffic, driving on the freeway, and I'll be off my lane. Then off sleeping. Then all of a sudden somebody will be tapping on my you know, then I'll wake up. It happened to me over 3 times.
Wow.
So I knew there was something more to that.
Yeah.
When I came, you know, to the training, I saw a lot of things. I had a class where there was one girl who was very, very wild. Very, very wild. And I couldn't do anything. None of the administrators could do a thing. So I remember sharing this with Issa at the time. That, I go to school very early, maybe 10 minutes before my actual time, to purify the room with the, how do we call it?
With the divine light.
Yeah, the divine light, the 4 corners of the room. I mean, within 1 week, this girl just became sober. And I had a good class. That's an experience, you know. Yeah. I can't talk to more of those things that I have seen, but there is this saying by the Chinese, that when a student is ready, a master will appear. So I've always said that if anybody who comes here, you don't come here for nothing. There's always a reason why you see yourself in this room here. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, since you came a little late, you spoke about the guardian spirit and how it impacts your life. Would you like to share the experience, how you encountered with here and what happened?
Me?
Yes, the mic.
Yeah, because well, as the more impact I see as my son. My son is autistic, and before I was coming here, he was a non-verbal, and then something happened to me last time. And the last no, when he was in California, I think. That we spoke with Oshi-sama on the
That's when you
TV.
were- Yeah, right.
And then,
October 18th.
yes, and I mean, that was for me is a big miracle because, he was doing better, but then, he's still autistic, there's a lot of things on him. So, I remember we were sitting down, my kids with me, and Oshi-sama said our names, but he didn't say the names of other people. So I felt that, very special because, there was several other people. So, my son was there. He went back, he was not doing nothing, like he was so calm, so well behaved and everything. So after that, I have a strong misery. I have a fever for a week and a half. And it was a no-stop fever. Like I was taking a pill and the fever was still there. And I called him and I said, crying, I said, I don't know what's going on, I don't know. I said, I don't know what's going on. So he told me that he was a blessing coming to my life. But suddenly at the same time when I was receiving this strong fever, this strong, I would say, miserere, I still don't know how to pronounce, my son was changing. Because the teacher said to me, I said, and I noticed it the day before, my daughter said, what's going on? He's a totally different person. My son listened to me in the morning, get dressed in the morning, not fussing, nothing. Now I can put him on the bus without any crying and, meltdown. So I noticed it, and then I talked to the teacher. The teacher said to me, do you do something different at your house?
Wow.
And I said, no. I said, oh my God, he just followed the rules, listened to me. He just is a totally different boy. So when I came and said, oh my God, that was the miracle that I was receiving. That's what I was getting, so strong. Yeah, he explained to me because I'm at the upline, right, or how you call it?
Yes, you're the upline as the mother.
Mother.
So we said earlier that we can move up there when we take basic seminar, intermediate seminar, advanced seminar. But in that case, you had a connection with the source of the divine light, which is Oshin-Ushi-sama. So this is what happened, and the entire family situation basically changed as well.
Okay, it was a struggle to me to take him to any activity, stores, anything. Now I can let him walk away, come back with me. Children, they don't do that. He's autistic. They don't have a sense of danger. They talk to anybody. Now he can, and I can actually have a conversation with him. And at the same time that happened, he sit down next to me and start talking to me that something happened when he was 3 or 4 years old. We had a big car accident, and he explained me everything, every single detail. But he was a non-verbal.
Wow.
So he said, Mommy, I was scared. I was see the light was like right. When the police came, because our SUV got stuck in the snow, we almost went under the hill.
Oh my God.
And I was with my son. All this stuff was like, the SUV was like, the SUV is square, almost centered around because I hated every part of the SUV. But he told me that, and he told me that he was scared, but the police came. Actually, the police took him out of the car, carrying him because he was crying. So, for me it was like, wow, he understand, but he couldn't speak.
Wow.
When that happened.
When did he start speaking?
I'd say I've been coming here for 2 years, almost gonna be 3 years, and he's been coming at the same time.
That's when he started speaking, when you started coming here?
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. So this will conclude our conversation of today. I thank everybody very much. And those of you that wish to receive the divine light, I think we still have a little bit of time, right? Wonderful. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.